Here I am, climbing up, feeling great, getting love. Here I go, risk it all, be worth it now, and that's for sure. Watch me as a Rocketeer.
Right, episode 28 of Talk Down Under is brought to you by CMBT. Go to cmbt.com.au for all your protein powder, protein bars, pre-workout, all that good stuff. Of course, we love CMBT. They're big supporters of Aussie MMA, so go to cmbt.com.au and give them some love. We're also brought to you by Nutcare. Now, recent research has shown that in 2022, most women prefer men who are groomed downstairs. So try Bare Nuts hair removal cream from Nutcare and join the grooming revolution. Go to nutcare.com.au, use the promo code FIGHTNEWS for 10% off at the checkout. That's nutcare.com.au, promo code FIGHTNEWS. All right, welcome everyone. We're back. Apologies for missing the last couple of weeks. It's been a bit of a rough one for us, but of course I'm Dan Meehan from Fight News Australia, and my co-host, of course, Lockjaw Justin Van Heerden, is no longer fighting Khan Offley at Eternal 70, as was announced over the weekend. So yeah, how are you, mate?
Yeah, obviously pretty unfortunate. So yeah, fight's been scrapped. And then, as I've found out, they couldn't put together a replacement opponent for Khan or sort of come to a deal there on that end. I think they offered out Rod Costa, but the fight wasn't put together or couldn't get put together. I briefly spoke to Khan, so he was pretty good about the situation, about the fight falling through, and yeah, so we're both kind of keen to get it going later in the year if it's possible, but obviously there's a few factors that got to come together, like obviously got to heal up, and who knows what's going to happen between now and then. This sport is crazy in that way, so we'll see. We'll take it one step at a time. But yeah, other than that, I mean, it's kind of just one of those things that just happens, I guess. I pretty much tore my intercostal muscle between my 8th and 9th rib on this side, and then fractured my 8th rib, and then did some ligament damage as well. And the way it sort of happened, it was kind of a bit weird. I was just, it was like on the Wednesday. It was on the Wednesday last week. I was moving around in the morning, doing one of our sort of doing my meat grinder, which is like one of our sort of fight simulation type workout sessions or whatever. And I was moving around with one of the boys, and then, yeah, out of nowhere, just kind of went on me and just felt excruciating pain and knew something was fucked up. So, yeah, went and got checked out, and then the doc was like, all right, here's what you've done. So, but the way it sort of happened and the nature of the injury, it was kind of like one of those things that the doctor was like, man, this was probably going to happen at some point. Like, you sort of were teetering. And it's an injury that or the area that's injured is the exact same area that I fought in with this injury earlier in the year when I fought Alan Philpott. And then it sort of come good. It seemed like it was, just one of those little niggles that kind of bugged you a little bit in my last camp, but obviously didn't really get affected. And obviously in that fight with Alavi, I didn't sustain much damage. So it didn't really get, nothing happened with it, and I didn't really get bothered by it. And then even in this camp, like earlier in the camp, like a couple of parts here and there, I was starting to get a little bit of pain in the area and a little bit of niggles here and there, but I mean, that's not overly out of the ordinary in this sport. Like, your body kind of cops a few knocks here and there, so I wasn't really overthinking it too much, and I was just going through the motions, just training, just doing my thing, just getting through camp. And then obviously, it's gone to this point now where I've like injured myself and got like on the optimistic side of things, like a 6 to 8 week recovery that we're sort of looking at. But yeah, so we'll see. We'll take it day by day. But yeah, the response has been pretty good from people that were coming to watch me fight. At least they've gotten enough notice to sort of switch things up. And if it works out that I get the fight later in the year, then obviously people can sort of sort things out to be able to attend. Cam and Ben have been pretty understanding about the situation. But yeah, at the end of the day, I had to sort of sit down with Joe and Alex and everyone and kind of just make the decision. And we're not in a position where I need to fight injured. There's no need to. So I can kind of, let myself heal up from this. It's probably going to give my body a time to sort of relax a bit, and a few other little bits and pieces to kind of get a bit of a break as well. And then, come back fully healed and ready to keep doing what I'm doing. And there's like, a few other benefits that come out of it. Obviously, like when I do finally get to go out there and compete, I'm probably going to be even better than I am now. So that's always a plus. So yeah, there's some little optimistic things to look at and be happy about, but obviously, yeah, it's pretty shit that I'm not fighting next weekend, but yeah, it is what it is.
I guess it's obviously a big opportunity in the short term that's gone begging, and MMA, you don't play MMA, these things happen. It's it's part of the sport. People pull out all the time with injuries and illness and all the things that can come along with a fight camp. But you're not a guy who pulls out of fights normally. Like we've never known you to sort of to really withdraw from fights or to ever say no to a fight or anything like that. Was there ever a thought to just push on through it, or was this one a bridge too far?
So when it happened initially, like, man, it was fucking like the pain was just shit. And I was just like kind of on the mat screaming in agony. And then I like kind of settled down a little bit, rolled over onto my back. And I was kind of like, just getting myself back to neutral. And then obviously the first sort of point of concern from Joe and everyone was just like, okay, get myself checked out. And once I kind of got myself sort of settled a little bit and that my first thought and thing was like, I'm still fighting. Like, there's no way I'm not fighting. I'm just like trying to just be like, nah, I'm still going to be able to fight. Like, it feels shit right now, but it might not even be that bad. Like, it might just be there was so many scenarios where that was still possible in my head where I was like, I'm still going to be able to fight. Like, whatever. Like, and I was already sort of thinking like, how am I going to manage this? Like, we'll deal with it. And then, yeah, when I obviously went to the hospital, in my head, I was sort of telling myself, I was like, if I've just torn like the muscle or done some ligament damage or something like that, like I'm still fucking fighting. Like, I don't care. Like, I'll deal with it. Like, I did it earlier in the year. Like, I'll do it again. And then when they did the sort of scans and checks and it come back that I'd fractured the rib or, done that as well, it was kind of like, okay, it's a no-brainer to not fight now because it's up high. It's like the 8th rib on this side. It's up high. I fuck around and go in there with like a fractured rib or whatever. And, I'm fighting someone who, packs a bit of a punch and likes to, hit pretty hard, throw pretty heavy. If I get my rib cracked and puncture a lung or, some shit like that, like, you're not only talking about falling short in this sort of big opportunity for this fight, you're talking about a longer layoff. You're talking about, more significant sort of damage to yourself. You're talking about potentially fucking dying. So it seemed like, at that stage, it seemed like, yeah, the right choice to make, to pull out and be like, all right, let's not fight like this. We don't need to. And then I'm blessed to have, guys like Joe Lopez and Volker there to sort of, guide me through and be like, we don't need to do this. Just at the end of the day, this doesn't stop us from doing what we're going to do inevitably anyway. We just have to like take one little step back now to progress further later on. So obviously this is the first time we're about to pull out of a fight with an injury, like, and, I guess people it's cool to be like, I'm injured or whatever and still want to fight and press on and do your job and do that thing. And it's cool. We're fighters, we're all tough. Like, we want to still just do our thing, but this isn't one of those times or one of those situations where it'd be smart to do that, So, yeah, we're just going to focus on recovery, bounce back, get back into it, train, prepare, get even better, and then, get in there and ultimately sort of compete at the best optimal level so that, there isn't any sort of possibility where there can be any excuses. And, then whoever I'm fighting, whether it's Khan or someone else, depending on what happens between now and then or whatever the case is, they know that they're fighting the best possible version of me. And I know that I'm competing as the best possible version of me. So there's no like, there's no excuses. There's no like anything there just to sort of cloud over the fact of what would happen in the cage. So yeah, that's where we're sort of at, where we're at with it.
Absolutely. And I guess one last thing, like, we kind of talked about this off air, but what's the ideal scenario for you? Do you want to sort of get back in the cage sort of before the end of the year or against Khan Offley? Is there any sort of opponents you have in mind, dates you have in mind? Sort of what's the ideal scenario for you from here on out?
I mean, even if all goes well with the injury and recovery and that, it's going to be sort of cutting it fine. I want to try and fight on the end of the year card that Eternal's got going. I think it's on like the 2nd or 3rd of December. So if there's somehow we can reschedule this fight for then, between myself and Khan, that would be, that'd be the optimal sort of outcome. Obviously, I understand that there's, the sport's got to keep moving and stuff has to keep happening. So, obviously this weekend, which we'll talk about, there's Alan and Diego that are fighting. There's other fights that are sort of happening. They might want to throw together a title fight on the Perth card that they got coming up. So they might do that. And then, that sort of plays out. We'll see. But, it's like I'm in a position where I'm the number 1 contender. I'm the number 1 featherweight in the country. I'm number 2 pound for pound in the region. Like, I know that my spot is there and, it's not going to get taken away from me. And, Cam and Nat have stressed to me that when I come back and I'm good to go again, like that slot's there for me to fight for the belt. So I know that that's sort of on the cards for me. I've just got to get myself back to that point. And then whether it's, ideally it'd be great to compete against Karnoff because he's like on a win streak. He's someone that I haven't fought before. And he's sort of a new test sort of for me in the division and someone that I'd, like the opportunity to compete against. He'd be, he's a competitor as well, just like myself. But at the same time, whether that's I step in there and I'm across from him, Diego, Alan, Alavi, Costa, doesn't matter. Like I've proven it time and time again. Like I'll fight anyone. So, I'm ready for anyone. And I train at the most optimal location for me to prepare and be ready for anyone with any style and any skill set. So yeah, we're going to just take it day by day, but we'll be ready for whatever's there.
Definitely. And recovery first. So yeah, hopefully, the recovery goes well and we can, we can see you back in there shortly, but
I've got myself sorted though, Dan. We've got the whiskey.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so wasted no time in getting back into the whiskeys.
No one's, as everyone knows, whiskey's like a favorite here. So we're on the whiskey. So things aren't all bad. It's pretty shit, but it could always be worse, but at least we got whiskey.
Absolutely. We have our whiskey. And, I guess with or without you, the show has to go on this weekend. So we've of course got Eternal 69 and 70, which we're here to preview and sort of get stuck into. So, we'll start with Eternal 69. Obviously, it's on Friday night up on the Gold Coast. So well, I think should we go down the whole card? We may as well. We'll try and do the whole card quickly.
We'll do everything.
Yeah, see how we go. But obviously, the first fight on the card is Darcy Spowett versus Val Sharapov. Now, it's kind of a bit of an interesting matchup. Obviously, being from Melbourne, have an awareness of Val Sharapov. He's a teammate of Aiden Aguilera's and Matt Myers. He had held the Eternal amateur title, or was it maybe it was in another promotion? I can't remember. But he did hold some sort of title, sort of a wrestling background. 5-2 as an amateur against Darcy, who's 0-1 as a pro, but 3-2 as an amateur. So how do you view that matchup?
Yeah, it should be good. It should be pretty fast paced, and if you got a name like Val Sharapov, I expect you to be able to know how to wrestle a little bit. So yeah, I'm excited. And Darcy, although he's started off his pro career with a loss, he's pretty handy. The kid's pretty handy, so it's a good matchup. It's good matchmaking by Eternal, and it should be a good way to open the card. It should be a fast-paced fight. We love watching the flyweights get out there and compete. The speed's going to be there, the energy's going to be there, the gas tank's going to be there. So yeah, I'm all for it. I'm keen to see some good back and forth action on the feet and some insane scrambles if it does hit the mat. But, I'm probably going to lean a bit more towards Val Sharapov for this one. I think ultimately his wrestling is going to be the deciding factor, and he's going to be able to sort of grind out a win.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's a good matchup, though. So, we'll move on. Jamie Edenden. I knew I was going to stuff that one up. I should have rehearsed it beforehand. But how do you pronounce it? Edenden. There you go. Against Gina G. So she's... Jamie's 1-1. Gina's making her pro debut after only just one amateur fight. So, it's a bit of an interesting matchup there. Maybe a little bit of an experience discrepancy, but how do you view that one?
Jamie Edenden's going to do what Jamie Edenden does. She's going to punch your six face in. This is, and I'm not knocking this other, knocking her opponent in any way. I'm sure her skills are going to be, um, she's obviously in a spot where she thinks she can just compete and get in there and is ready to be a professional MMA fighter. So we'll give her the benefit of the doubt. But I got to rock with Jamie. She's a friend of mine. She's someone that I got a lot of respect for, and she's an absolute beast, man. She's out here fighting all the time, across different sports, boxing, kickboxing, MMA. No fucks given, and she comes in there to punch faces off. So it's pretty fun when she's in there, throwing the heavies at some of these girls. And obviously, if you watched her last fight, she beat the shit out of Angelika Momcilovic for 3 rounds, just pieced her up. So I'll be looking to see more of that this time around.
Yeah, I think she'll be the favourite, won't she? Like, obviously, Gina's camp won't have sort of thrown her into the mix if they didn't think that she was ready for a challenge like this.
100%.
So it'll be interesting to see what she brings to the table. It's a bit of an unknown quantity, so yeah, we'll see what happens on fight night. But of course, we've got Liam Stephen as well taking on Jimmy O'Brien. It's a bit of a fun matchup, this one. Obviously, Liam Stephen's coming off a bit of a nasty loss to Tom Nolan, but he is a handy sort of handy prospect. He looks a likely one. Jimmy O'Brien's a guy who's been around for a little while, also fought recently and had a win. So, yeah, what do you make of this one?
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup. Liam's obviously a beast, man, and he's shown that if you give him the opportunity, he'll snatch it and he'll put you away. And Jimmy, same thing. He's kind of, pretty, he's been around a bit. He's pretty well-rounded. I think, he used to train at like Integrated and then moved. And now I think he's sort of based training at, I believe, at Integrated. I know he trains alongside Dave Martinez. So, he's made a bit of a change. So he's got some high caliber training partners, people like Dave Martinez, people like John Martin Fraser, he's got these good skilled bodies to work with. So it's, no surprise that he's gone he's shown some improvements. But it's an interesting one to pick, this one, because both guys can get it done. Both guys are, they're pretty well rounded. But I got to lean more towards Nim in this one. I think he's going to be able to go out there and bounce back from his loss to Tom Nolan and then get a submission. I think that's going to be, that's going to be the one to pick. Submission, I'd say inside 2.
Yeah, I agree. I'd be picking Liam Stephen as well. I rate him highly. I think he's he's a good up and coming prospect, and I think this would be a good win for him to sort of push on if he can get past Jimmy O'Brien, who's obviously a tough challenge at this point in Liam's career. That's for sure. Also, we've got now Matt Myers was on the card. He was supposed to be taking on Nick Kepu, who's pulled out with an injury. I'm told he's got a broken finger. And in steps John Martin Fraser, who's obviously the the eternal middleweight champion. So it's an interesting step, interesting sort of replacement opponent. Matt Myers is making his middleweight debut, so he's sort of he's pretty much gone right to the top, and he's in his first middleweight fight, so it's a big test for him. Obviously, John Martin Fraser's taken the fight on very short notice, so it would be interesting to see, if he's been in camp, then we'll sort of see what sort of shape he's in. But yeah, what do you make of this matchup?
Yeah, this is interesting, man, because Myers has obviously been in camp and he's been training, getting ready, and I rate that dude, man. He's good. He beat the fuck out of Ty Duncan on Coastal Combat. So, when that happened, I was kind of like, holy shit, this dude's like, this dude's pretty dangerous. Obviously, he trains with Aiden Aguilera, and he's got some good, well-rounded training partners that he can feed off as well. But obviously, John Martin Fraser's the champ, man. We've seen what that dude's been able to do to people. If he puts hands on you, he's gonna hurt you. But for sure, he hasn't been back in Australia very long. He only just recently got back, and yes, pretty much straight away when he got back, he's been training. But to the level or standard of when you're in camp, I don't think so. Is that something that he's going to let phase him? I also don't think so. He trains under Ryan Dunstan. He's basically integrated. He's obviously been a body for however long he's been back, for like the last 2 weeks or whatever it's been since he's been back in Australia. He's been in there grinding with sort of Dave Martinez and the rest of the squad, down at Integrated. So, I expect he's going to get there, go out there and be ready to sort of perform and fight. He's obviously pretty confident. You don't take a fight on any notice that's considered short if you're not. So I think, yeah, he's going to be ready to go out there and perform. And obviously Myers is stepping up in weight, short notice as well, to sort of make this fight come together. So it's interesting. There's a few factors. I mean, I'd say the longer it goes, the more it plays into Myers' favor. But early on, Frazier's going to be a fucking problem. And if he puts hands on him, I think, yeah, then we're going to see Myers struggle a little bit. But I gotta pick in this one. It's hard because I like both guys. I'm a fan of both guys, but I got to go with the guy that's the champ and whose weight class it is, and I can't really pick against him. I feel like I'm leaning towards him. I feel like early on he's going to be too much of a problem. I think he hits too hard, and the size is going to play a factor. And I think he's going to put Myers away.
Yeah, I think Myers isn't just stepping up to middleweight for this fight. He did decide to. I think maybe even last year he decided to step up to middleweight. He's had numerous fights fall through. This guy's been in fight camp for God knows how long. So
yeah,
we know he's going to be in shape. But there's question marks for both guys, like you sort of touched on there. John Martin Fraser taking the fight on short notice. What sort of shape's he in? We don't know. Matt Myers hasn't fought at middleweight before, and he's stepping in against the eternal middleweight champion, who's obviously a dangerous guy. So, how does he go at that weight? We also don't know. Like his team wouldn't be throwing him in there if they didn't think he was sort of ready to take on someone of that caliber. But there's question marks for both guys, so it's a fun matchup.
It's kind of a stitch up for him too, because if he goes out and wins and smokes John Martin Fraser, it's not like he gets the middleweight belt. Like, so what would they do? Would they rematch them for the belt, or because really, Fraser will still be champ, but is he the champ? No, he's not. He just got his head punched in by, Myers. So you'd be like, fuck, what are we doing here? Like, it's very confusing. But, as I said, I'm a fan of both guys. Massive respect to both guys to get the fight together because, a lot of people wouldn't have said yes to this fight at a week's notice, and a lot of people wouldn't have accepted a new opponent on short notice up in weight. So both guys are absolute weapons. I'm keen to see it.
Yeah, exactly. It is a catchweight fight. I don't actually know what the catchweight is. I don't know if you know off the top of your head, but yeah, for Myers to be sort of stepping up to middleweight and sort of giving whatever the dispensation is at the catchweight, it's kind of it's an interesting test, and fair play to both guys for taking the fight.
I think it's 6 kilos. 6 kilos, I think, is the difference in that he's stepping up in from what he would have weighed in at. Yeah,
right. So it's a fair bit then.
Yeah, something like that.
Right, so yeah, it's a fair bit. So yeah, obviously, it's probably pretty short notice for he's a big boy, John Martin Fraser, from what we can tell. So it would have been fairly difficult for him to sort of make weight on such short notice. So yeah, fun matchup. But also another fun matchup. You'll obviously have a keen eye on this one. It's a couple of your old foes, Diego Pereira against Alan Philpott. So it's an interesting one because obviously Diego Pereira is coming off, I guess a disqualification loss to Ryan Gray, where he was probably dominating the fight, right? It was probably a preventable sort of situation in the end, but
100%.
Alan Philpott's coming off a loss to some mug. I don't know, forget his name, but he got tapped out by some grappler. I don't know, forget his name, but
unfortunate.
But it's an interesting matchup. Like Eternal's kind of put this one on the table, and there's a bit of ambiguous wording, but they said on the and I wanted to sort of put this to you. They said it's about which will determine a new featherweight contender. Does this mean it's a number one contender fight, or are they just kind of just advancing in the rankings? How do you view the matchup? How do you view the the messaging from Eternal on this one?
I think it's a bit of fluff just to sort of add. I mean, I suppose they are going to. Actually, I was talking to someone about this, a good friend of mine about this, and I feel like they're obviously going to be moving forward as a contender in the division with a win, but let's call it like it is. Both guys would have to do some work, even with a win, to still make themselves relevant again, to be talking about fighting for a belt. Like Diego, he was dominating all, mate, but you made the decision, elbowed it in the back of the head. Like you clearly knew that it was illegal, and you elbowed him in the back of the head, and you continued to do it. So, I don't have any sympathy for you. It's a loss on your record. You're coming off a loss. You had the opportunity to fight before this, like we've touched on before. It's not like I'm just throwing this, blowing any smoke. I literally stood in the Eternal cage, looked you in the face, and called you out. You didn't accept the fight. You denied a fight with my previous opponent as well. So it's like, fuck, man. You had the opportunity to fight and put yourself in a good position. Now you're fighting a dude who I've who I just beat this year as well. You know, so it's kind of like it's a weird spot to be in. I feel like no matter who wins, they've got some work to do before they're relevant or you know, in a position where they can fight for a belt. That being said, it's an interesting fight. We got two guys who are pretty experienced. Obviously, Alan's had like 50-odd MMA fights. You know, he's been around the game for a bit. Diego, same thing. You know, he's been around the Australian and New Zealand scene for a while. The dude's, he's obviously a former teammate of mine. You know, he's quite skilled, and like I've touched on before, and like kind of we spoke about off air as well. You know, it's just going to depend on this fight's going to depend on which Diego Pereira shows up. And if Diego shows up and he's on and he's mentally firing, it's going to be a quick night in the office for him. He's going to fuck Alan up. But you know, if he's not on, or if he's, I guess, just not turning up, or takes a while to get going, it's gonna be a rough night for him, because obviously Alan's handy. He's a really good counter striker, and if you're sort of allowing him to play that game and stepping into that range with him and allowing him to set those traps and draw you in and throw those strikes, you're gonna have a shit time. But at the same time, you know, I feel like Diego's got more tools to win this fight. He's 100% a better wrestler and a grappler than Alan. The striking, you know, it's going to be competitive. Both guys kind of like to mix it up. They throw the kicks, the punches, the knees, the elbows. Both guys kind of usually are reactive fighters, so they go off what the other person presents to them and look to capitalize on it that way. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out and which one of them decides to step forward and actually, you know, set a pace in the fight and controls the distance in the range and actually engages and creates those opportunities. If people want to go back, you want to watch my fight with Alan. If you watch the end of the first round and the start of the second round, you would see kind of what I'm talking about, where I kind of let Alan dictate the range a little bit, and he was able to sort of set a few traps and land a few things, and you know, it sort of played into his game a little bit. So, you know, if you allow someone like that to do that, you give them those opportunities, you know, it's potentially going to be a shit night for you. But at the same time, if Pereira shows up, remembers that he's a fucking mixed martial artist and he can wrestle and grapple, it's going to be a fucking rough night for Alan. I can tell you that now, man. Diego's no slouch on the ground, and, you know, he can wrestle a little bit too. So, you know, at the end of the day, he's a brown belt, probably due for a black belt in jiu-jitsu. The dude's pretty handy. He's well-rounded. So it's going to be interesting to see how this fight plays out. I got to lean more towards Diego. Just because, like I said, I think he's got more tools to win the fight. As much as Alan wants to say that he's improved and done all these things and he's worked on his grappling and his wrestling, he probably hasn't. And even if he did, it's not enough. And then, you know, it's going to depend, like we said, it's going to depend on how Diego shows up. Is he mentally going to be on? Is he going to be there? Is he ready to fight? And, you know, what's going to happen? So I've got to lean more towards Diego, though. I think he's got more tools to finish the fight. I feel like he gets it done inside the distance. I don't see this fight going the 3 rounds. I feel like both guys have the opportunity, have the capabilities, and have the patience to kind of capitalize on a mistake and put each other away. But as I said, I feel like Diego can get it done. And I'm going to say Diego's going to get it done inside the distance with a stoppage, either a TKO or a submission. But yeah, I'm expecting, as I said, as a pure fan of the game and fan of the fight, a fan of fighting, I want to see, you know, I'm hoping that it's the best Diego Pereira that's switched on and ready coming in there against the best Alan Philpott, you know, who's gone away after he got subbed and worked on himself, worked on his abilities, worked on his skills, and kind of looked to improve and is coming back more fired up, more motivated. You know, we can take the ring rust away now because he just fought. So that excuse or whatever, that bullshit can go away. So I'm expecting that, you know, he's coming in, he's ready, all that shit's aside, and he's going to come out there and perform. And that's what I want to see. You know, at the end of the day, I'm not a fan of either of these two dudes, but at the end of the day, I want to see, you know, 2 featherweights that have abilities and talents and skills that could potentially put on an amazing performance. I want to see them get out there and perform. Like, at the end of the day, as a fan, this is a good fight. It's good matchmaking by Eternal. I mean, it's fucking 2 irrelevant cunts that like to talk a lot and, you know, stay on the socials while other people are working. But, you know, we'll let that be. That's neither here nor there. But yeah, I'm excited for the fight. Regardless, I want to see how it plays out. And if between now and then the winner of this fight has another fight with another contender, whether it's a Lavi or something like that, or they give them the opportunity to fight for the belt in my absence or whatever. I don't, like I've said, I don't really care. I'll fight whoever's in front of me. But yeah, I'm excited for this fight. I'm going to be watching it, obviously. And I just hope that we get all that we deserve out of it based on the abilities that both guys have and the way the fight matches up stylistically on paper.
It is a brilliant matchup on paper, like you say there. And it's an interesting thing that you touched on there. And we've kind of talked about this before, like the difference between Diego Pereira on his day and the difference between Diego Pereira when he's sort of off is vast. Like, he's the ultimate sort of confidence player, isn't he? He has all the tools, but then sometimes he's just not quite, he just seems a bit off, Like, what do you think the sort of the difference is? What do you think is kind of, I guess, the cause of sort of some of these sort of, variations in performance?
Man, I don't like, it's hard. It's definitely a mental though. Like, it's a mental thing, because even when I was training at Southside before I moved to freestyle, and obviously I was his teammate and I was in his corner a few times, and we obviously grind together on the mats. This is something that wouldn't just happen with fights. Like, this is something that happened with him in the training room too. Like, there's days where that guy would show up and he'd be on, like, we'd be sparring, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? Like, man, this dude is, he'd be doing some shit, and you're like, what is going on? Or he'd be grappling, he'd be wrestling, or whatever, and you're like, just like blown away by what the fuck he's able to do. But then there's other days where he shows up and, it's like fucking it's just not there. Like, the timing's gone. The ability's just not at the same point. The reactions are just not at the same point. And it's like a mental block. It's a mental thing that happens, and he has to get himself mentally in the right spot. And I mean, that's a fucking pretty shitty thing to deal with. I'm fucking happy I don't have to deal with that shit, man. Like, that's why I think, like, we try and like with my prep and how we do things, the way we train, the stuff we put ourselves through, way worse than any fucking fight that you're going to have. So, like, even if you were in a situation where you were someone that had to sort of mentally get yourself in the right spot or hype yourself up or get yourself ready, knowing what you've done in preparation could help that. Is Diego doing those things now? Is it something that he's working towards? Is it something that he even identifies? Is it something that he even recognizes as being a thing? Because I know it, yeah, but I knew it before I even had a close relationship with the guy. I could tell that it was something that he was dealing with, because I'd fought on the same cards as him, and I've seen him, do crazy things, and then I'd watch him fight other people and just get sort of not be on and get smoked, and you're like, what the fuck's going on? Like, that's not the same dude. Like, what is going on? And if you can pick it out, if other people can pick it out, it's a known thing. So it's just whether he recognizes it and it's actually something that he's working on or has worked on or, has sort of improved. But yeah, obviously that's going to be a big factor, man. That's always going to be a big factor in fights. It's kind of like I relate it to sort of like Michael Johnson or even, Cowboy Cerrone. It's like when those guys showed up and they were on point and they were in there, absolute world beaters, world class, like fucking just destroy cunts. Like, how many times have we seen Cowboy and Michael Johnson run through top shelf competition, and then they fight someone who's probably not on the same level ability wise, not on the same level experience wise, and they just get smoked, and you're like, what is going on? Like, how does that make sense?
Yeah, it's good examples, actually. They're probably two guys that sort of seem to have the same mental blocks, don't they? Like I say, on their day, world class. You could probably say that about Diego Pereira as well, but, sometimes they just get turned over. And
then, on the opposite end of things, you got a guy that's, got all the experience in the game. Like, like we've spoken about, he's had like 50 fights, he's been around the game. Like, this dude, he is good. He is experienced. He should be coming out here and putting it on people and doing his thing. But his biggest problem is he refuses to accept things that happen. He refuses to accept his losses. He's done it his whole career. He refuses to accept any responsibility for anything. It's just a cycle that repeats itself. The guy like has success, goes to his head, thinks he's the best in the world. Like, which is fine. We have to, you have to have that mentality, I guess, in some facets as a fighter. But like, you also have to be realistic with yourself and not be surrounded by yes men and not surround yourself with just, oh, everything's going great, I'm fucking killing it. Like, you need reality checks. You need to walk into the gym and know, like, man, you still got work to do. And whether you can do that for yourself or other people can do that for you, you got to have that. And unfortunately, Alan's just one of those people that refuses to do that. And it's something that I've said it to him multiple times. It's like, bro, just be humble, do the work, and you're going to be sweet. Like all this other bullshit, and it's just going to continue to come back and bite you. And it's one of those things, man. Both guys kind of have to just be like in the right mental spot and show up and be switched on. And if they are, then it's going to be a fucking cracker of a fight. But if they're not, then it's going to be a light work for the other person on the night.
Absolutely. And of course the main event, it's the the fight that everyone's kind of been looking forward to here is Aiden Aguilera versus David Martinez. It's the big grudge match. It's been building for probably the last 18 months on certainly on social media since obviously their fight on I think it was Coastal Combat got cancelled maybe
scrapped
a year and a half ago. And Aiden's been on that relentless pursuit. And I will just plug my interview with the two of them. It was it was a wild encounter. It's uncomfortable viewing if we're being honest. There's on Fight News Australia YouTube channel. I interviewed both Aiden and Dave together. And it was a wild one, so make sure you go and check that one out. But of course, on paper, it's a fun matchup as well. There's sort of two guys who have been around the game and had plenty of fights. Eternal lightweight title on the on the line. Aiden's obviously won the title after that sort of horrific leg break against Jack Becker, and Martinez has sort of got himself back on track with wins over Dimps Gillies and Tim Schultz to sort of I guess solidify the shot. So what do you make of the main event?
Yeah, first off, shout out to Jack Becker for fucking his recovery on that and just being back, like pretty much back training, walking around, doing all sorts. What a fucking weapon. Anyway.
I saw some footage.
And I'll lean towards my friend Diego Pereira for this breakdown. It's a classic striker versus grappler matchup that we're going to see. It's an interesting fight. Obviously, there's a lot of hype around it. There's a lot of build up for it. I like both guys. Obviously, Dave's come down and done some work with us a couple of times now at freestyle. I like the dude, man. I like Dave. I think Dave's really nice. He's a nice dude. I don't mind him. And obviously, I like Aiden too. I think Aiden's a good dude. And I like watching him fight. So for me, it's a weird spot to be in because I kind of, so I want to see both guys do well. I want to see both guys go out there and kill it. But this is Fight Talk Down Under, and I give you predictions and tell you how I think things are going to play out. And looking at this fight, I feel like early on, Aiden's going to have his biggest challenges presented to him in the first sort of couple rounds, because I feel like, especially early on when the gas tanks are still good, you're not as sweaty, all that sort of shit, that factors in. And I'll tell you, man, Dave Martinez is a strong fucking dude. Like that dude's big and he's strong and he's no slouch when obviously like he's shown in those areas when it comes to the wrestling and the grappling. And obviously the striking side of things, it's something that he's been working on. And it's something that I was surprised when I moved around with him when he was a freestyle. At his striking ability, I was obviously, because if you watch his fights, like it's no secret when his goal is to get a hold of you and get you down, and then we've seen what he does to people once it hits the map. But we saw in the Dimps Gillies fight, he was more than happy to exchange on the feet a little bit. Same with Tim Schultz, like he was more than happy to exchange on the feet a little bit. And I was surprised when he came down here and we sparred and stuff too. I was like, oh, okay, it's not like the dude flat out can't strike. It's obviously something that he's been working on. But yeah, I feel like early on the wrestling and the grappling is going to be a problem for Aiden, and it's just going to be how he survives that initial onslaught. He definitely has an advantage when it comes to the striking. But, in saying that, we can't we can't be like, oh, okay, Aiden can't grapple, he can't wrestle. The dude's obviously well-rounded. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and, he's pretty experienced. He's finished, like, the majority of his fucking fights. Like, the dude's super dangerous. So I feel like, it's one of those things where early on, Aiden's going to have to survive an onslaught from Martinez and kind of be very disciplined in those areas. And then be proactive in removing himself from being on the ground or against the cage or, in those clinching and grappling situations. And if he's able to do that, then I feel like as the fight goes, he's going to find his comfort, be able to sort of do the damage on the feet, start picking Dave apart, and then it's going to be sort of his fight to lose from a certain point onwards. But so it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. I feel like Martinez is going to come out very aggressive. I feel like he's going to push the pace quite a bit, and he's going to just look to put him away. I feel like that's, especially as much as Dave's sort of a quiet, sort of reserved sort of dude, I got to imagine he's been pretty pissed off and annoyed by the shit that Aiden's been saying, all the antics that have happened, the back and forth, all that sort of stuff. And I feel like he's going to have a chip on his shoulder to come out there and try and hurt this dude and put him away. And I can tell you, like, early on, if he gets a hold of him, Aiden's going to be in fucking trouble, man, because I was in exchanges with that guy and we were sparring and grappling and wrestling, and I was like thinking, like, obviously I'm no slouch in those areas myself, but like I was thinking, like, fuck, man, I can see why you see some of these dudes like look like they crumble a little bit and they're like, what the fuck's going on? And they seem a bit lost. The dude's very, 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 very strong, very, very strong, and very experienced in those sort of areas. But and it looks like he wants to improve in those areas where he's strong as well. But as I said, Aiden hits hard. He's got a few more weapons on the feet. So I see this fight going to be pretty rough for Aiden in the first sort of 2 rounds. And then round 3 onwards, I feel like he's going to sort of take the momentum, switch it up a bit, start looking to pick Dave apart, and then start pushing the pace and doing his own thing. And ultimately, I see Aiden winning a unanimous decision.
Yeah, there you go. It's like kind of like you touched on there. It's a relatively even sort of matchup on paper, and it's just going to be fun to see how it plays out. I'll probably pick Aiden as well. I think he's probably just got more tools in the end, and like you say, Dave has improved in the striking areas. He sort of had a bit of a go with Dim's Gillies and didn't really look out of place. But I think for me, I think Aiden, as long as he can kind of survive, like you say, in those scrambles and not sort of get pinned down by Dave, who's a big boy, then I think he should be able to get it done.
And it's it's one of those fights. It's one of those fights too that it's like me being a fan of the sport. It's like one of those ones that's just matched up quite nicely, and then it's got all the build up and the hype. So it's like exciting. Like I want to actually sit down and watch this fight. Like I actually am pumped to see it. But like I said earlier, like it's so shit too at the same time. Because I like both dudes. I want to see both guys win. It's a weird position to be in. But yeah, I think either way, it's gonna be worth the price of admission.
Absolutely, definitely, and of course, Saturday night, Eternal 70. It's obviously the big 10th anniversary for Eternal, so they've gone the big double header, and we'll smash through this card as well. Opening up the card, there's Chemo Smith versus Jasper Dunphy. Obviously, we saw Jasper in action against Abel Brights recently, but I don't know too much about Chemo Smith myself.
I know a lot about him.
How do you view this matchup?
So Chemo Smith's actually one of my very first training partners from when I started MMA up at Mackay MMA in North Queensland. Trains under David Garnham. He's an absolute weapon, man. So he's one of those people that just sort of came in and just wanted to do a bit of MMA. He came in with his brother, and they just wanted to sort of train and do it a little bit. And next thing you know, they just jumped in and started fighting straight away. Both went pro straight away and just started fighting. And he's had a bit of a layoff. Like he's had some years away from actually fighting. He had a few injuries and stuff that he was dealing with. Fought at lightweight previously. And he's scrapped. He's had some scraps with some pretty handy people in the lightweight division. He's fought Dan Hill, guys like that. So, I'm excited to see what he's doing, what he's going to be able to do back now, being like fully healed, sounding like all the injuries and the stuff that he's had and issues that he's had have been sort of fixed. And, fighting at welterweight, so he's probably not cutting as much weight. He's got a very unorthodox style and how he fights, like in his striking and everything like that. But it's not like he's stepped away from the game completely. He stepped away from competing for a while, but he's been coaching and training just constantly all the way through. So like you would have seen, anytime Mackay MMA had any fighters on any cards in the last few years, he'd be in the corner alongside David Garnham and that. So He's obviously, I'd like to think that he's would have still progressed even though he hasn't been competing. I think he's done a bit of grappling here and there, like some grappling comps here and there and stuff like that. But and maybe some kickboxing or boxing fights, but he's for sure still stayed as involved in the game. And this is an interesting matchup for him to sort of come back to a welterweight. Jasper Dunphy is a guy that's based at Absolute. He seems like he's pretty well rounded, pretty handy. Obviously fought Abel Brights at short notice, up in weight. Abel was ultimately got the submission and was able to sort of do quite well, but. It's going to be interesting to see how he fares at what seems to be like the weight class that he's meant to fight in. Because he's a pretty big guy, man. Like he looked like he belonged at middleweight, but obviously he fought a guy who was in camp and prepared and ready, and he came in at short notice and just had a crack. And Abel's not a small guy either, so especially nowadays. So. It's an interesting matchup for me. Obviously, I'm going to lean a bit more towards Chemo because obviously I have a sort of previous friendship relationship with the guy, so I kind of got to lean a bit more towards him. I want to see him come out there and sort of announce himself back in a big way in the Australian MMA scene. But at the same time, I want to see what Jasper's going to be capable of in this fight, and at this weight class. I want to see how that sort of translates. But all I can tell you is Chemo's fight name isn't the Crazy Tongan for no reason. The dude's very unorthodox and does some crazy shit in there. So it'd be one to tune in for sure. Could be fight of the night.
Definitely, I'll keep an eye out for that one. And following that one is Lachlan Stitt versus Corey Lynch. A couple of up-and-coming sort of fighters. Lachlan's had one fight. Corey's having his fourth fight this time around. So how do you view that one? Lachlan,
first round KO. That dude's the future of Australian MMA. That kid is very, very good. He's another one that started with Chemo and I up in Mackay, North Queensland, at Mackay MMA. Came in, young kid, just one of those kids that just seems like whatever he wanted to do, whatever sport he wanted to play, or whatever thing he wanted to pursue, he was just going to kill it in. And now he got the abilities and was training and improving. And then he got a bit older now. He's filled out, became a bit of he's become a man, and now he's just an absolute monster. Trains alongside Caleb Rideout. He's an absolute beast, and I rate this kid, man. I think he's gonna go far in this game. I feel like he could potentially be a future Australian, like a future champion in a big organization, and do some big things for Aussie MMA. So I feel like he's gonna go out there and just win in the first round and win pretty convincingly. I feel like it's gonna be a stoppage.
There you go, high praise there. So keep your eye out for Lachlan Stitt. But following that one, and this is probably one of the best matchups for the whole weekend for my money anyway. It's your teammate Colby Thickness taking on Sam Kakembo. It's a bit of a sleeper. It's probably one that hasn't been talked about that much. But Colby's 1-0. He's obviously been having some trouble getting fights. He sort of obviously missed out on the fight with Jarrett Wilbraham recently because of the a concussion, I think. And obviously Sam Kakembo's been he's been busy. He's 4-0. And he looks he looks like a smooth mover. So how do you view this matchup?
Man, it's gonna be a good fight. It's a good fight. Obviously Sam's been doing a lot of work. He's been fighting. Getting busy. So he's had a busy start to his pro career, which is cool. It's interesting how this fight came together because obviously, Colby's been struggling to get opponents. And then this come together. It's at featherweight. Obviously, these guys fought previously at bantamweight, I believe, as amateurs. Colby was able to get the win in that one, but not without some adversity, So it was it's interesting. These guys have fought before. They're going to both be, they're both vastly different to what they were back then. Sam's training along some good guys. I think he did the majority of this camp in Thailand with sort of Joseph Luciano and a couple of the other boys overseeing his prep. He's based at Absolute, trains alongside Jack Jenkins, Carnoff Lee, guys like that. So, and obviously Colby Thickness is one of my teammates, one of my main training partners. And he's hungrier than ever to get back in there. It's been 22 months or something like that since he's fought. And then obviously, had the setback with being concussed and, having to miss out even longer. And now he's finally there. He's finally back. So it's going to be interesting to see how both guys come in there and approach this fight. And I guess on paper, even though they've already fought, like on paper, it's like you said, it's a sleeper fight. It's a fucking interesting fight. It's a great matchup. It's just like two of the top young Australian prospects that are going out there and competing against each other. But yeah, obviously Colby's going to go out there and do his thing, man. I think Colby's too good. I think he's just levels better wherever the fight goes, whether it's the striking, the wrestling, the grappling. I think he puts it together better than anyone I've ever trained with. You know, for someone with, I guess, experience-wise, if you look at it, you know, he's only had one pro fight, but, you know, the dude's obviously got out there as an amateur and racked up all the experience, and he's been, you know, Volko's main training partner one of his main training partners for a number of years, and that shit translates, man. Colby's very, very good, and I thought I had high praise for him before I even became his teammate. Like, I thought, fuck, this kid's fucking really good, and then I got to see his, you know, before I moved to freestyle, I got to see him fight on Eternal and make his pro debut and stuff like that, and I was just thinking, like, holy shit, man, this kid's legit. And since moving here, since being part of freestyle, since becoming one of his training partners, it's just freakish what he's able to do and how good he actually is and what he's able to sort of put together. So I'm excited because Sam's obviously, you know, someone who's improved, gone strength to strength, and started off his pro career in a big way too, and he's racking up wins. But it's going to be interesting to see how the dynamic of them having fought before plays into it. Obviously, Colby got the win. Got the win in a fight where he got compromised pretty early on and was, you know, he experienced some pretty big adversity and was kind of nearly put away, and then, you know, come back and like was able to win. So it's going to be interesting to see how this fight, how it sort of comes together, and how quickly Colby can actually sort of come into it and utilize the skills and abilities that he has to kind of show everyone that he is one of the best prospects that we have in Australian MMA that, you know, is without a doubt going to compete at the top level and going to be someone that we talk about later on as being, you know, one of Australian MMA's sort of best products.
So you're obviously picking Colby. So, you know, what's his big advantage? How does he get it done?
I'm going to pick Colby to get it done by a knockout inside two.
There you go. Nice one.
But like I said, wherever it goes, I feel like he's got the advantage. And, you know, like there's a sort of running inside joke in the gym, like sometimes here and there, like we'll be doing stuff. And, you know, at the end of the day, he's still a fucking brown belt in jiu-jitsu. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens.
Yeah, there we go. And of course, following that one, I've got Kobe Porter versus another guy that you know very well in Michael Stanoff. Now Porter's making his pro debut after a 4-2 amateur career. Stanoff's in his third pro fight. He's 1-1 after a 7-1 amateur career. So yeah, how do you view this one?
I like this matchup, man. It's a good matchup. I like this matchup. Both guys are explosive. Both guys are dangerous. Yeah, Kobe Porter, I like this kid, man. I've watched him fight a bunch of times, and I like the way he gets in there and does his thing. He obviously trains at Integrated under Adrian Pang. It's no secret. People that train under Adrian Pang from Integrated always bring it. They like to, you know, get in there and scrap, and that's kind of expected when the guy that's the head coach is someone like Adrian and has no quit in him, doesn't take a backward step. So it's no secret that these guys from Integrated, when they get in there, they have that same sort of approach. You know, if they do start being the nail in the fight, they have no problem with biting down on their mouth guard, stepping forward and throwing the heavies and trying to pull people away. So that shapes up to make any fight exciting. And, you know, Michael Stanoff he's one of my teammates in a way you could say as well now. He's obviously done a couple of camps down here with us at Freestyle, and, you know, he came down as part of this. He was expecting to fight on a different promotion but hadn't got an opponent yet, and then the opportunity came to fight Kobe Porter on Eternal, so he jumped at it. So yeah, Stanoff's good, man. He's so strong, he's so explosive, and obviously, you know, you saw in his last fight the improvements that he's made across the board, and again in this one, I feel like since that fight he's improved again. So I'm interested to see how this plays out, man. This is an explosive matchup. There's another one that could be potentially fight of the night because, you know, both guys like to bring it. Both guys are dangerous. Both guys pack power. So it could be one of those fights, man, where it's either a very quick stoppage, or it's like some Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje shit, and we're watching this for 3 rounds going, oh fuck, like what's gonna happen? But obviously, with that being said, I'm gonna pick my friend Stanoff. I feel like he's gonna get it done, get the finish, and I'm gonna go round 2 submission. I'm gonna pick he's gonna sub him in round 2. I feel like round 1's gonna be gangbusters and crazy. Round 2, Stanoff's going to wear on him a little bit, be able to take him down, be able to grind him, be able to control him and smash him, and then get the submission.
Awesome, and I think it's a big opportunity for both guys. Really, it's essentially a co-main event on a
co-main event
card. So, some of these up and coming prospects, I think Stanoff might have had some problems trying to get fights. So, it's a big opportunity to put themselves in the window.
Yeah, 100%. Imagine that, making it, like, for someone like Kobe too, like making it a pro debut and your co-main event on the biggest promotion in the region on the biggest weekend that they've ever had, their 10-year anniversary. Shit like this doesn't always come around, so you got to sort of snatch it and run with it. All the eyes are going to be on you. It's an opportunity for both guys to go out there and kind of announce themselves in a big way.
Absolutely, and a similarly big opportunity for the new main event fighters. Again, another guy that you know quite well in Blake Donnelly is taking on John Bruin in the new main event. So yeah, how do you view that one?
Yeah, this is a good fight, man. This is good matchmaking by Eternal to put this one together. Bruin's a beast too. I rate that guy. He's very, very good. So, obviously Blake's another person who's just had some struggles getting fights of recent times. And if people aren't like, I'm the fucking exception. I just want to point that out. Like, everyone else that is at freestyle or has been, that's sort of involved in our group of people. It's like, they're all struggling to get fights. Like, I'm the only person that's not struggling to get fights. And I feel like that's a bit, so every time I fought this year, I felt weird because like none of my teammates can get fights. But yeah, Blakey's
you're getting called out left, right and center.
100%. And Blakey's, he's another one. The poor guy can't get fights, and now he's finally got a fight. So I'm stoked because, obviously Blake's 5-1. And, he's one of the most dangerous people in the division, and it's a stacked division, so I feel like this is a good fight for Blake, and it's, a well-deserved main event considering, my fight with Khan fell through. I'm happy that they decided to do that. And Bruin is talented, man. He's a beast. He's well-rounded as well. So it's on paper, it's a very interesting matchup. Both guys are super dangerous. Both guys can put each other away. But I feel like Blake knows how good he is, and he's confident in how good he is. And he is going to be more hungry than ever because he hasn't been able to get fights. And he wants that title. He wants to be fighting for that belt. So I feel like he's going to come into this one looking to put Bruin away, cement himself as the person who should be fighting for the Eternal title, and then, kind of take that sort of big step forward where I feel like if he wins this fight, he should be fighting for the belt. I feel like, he's sort of overlooked a little bit in the division based on the fact that he's got that one loss that kind of, when he fought Dimps and things didn't go his way, but then it's kind of like he got forgotten about after that. But with that being said, like we sort of said, the division is stacked. There's so many people in that division. It's probably the most contested division in the region. And Bruin's another one, man. That dude's going to come in there looking to cement himself, announce himself in a big way on Eternal's main event to cap off their 10-year anniversary card. So it's going to have fireworks written all over it, but I'm going to go with Blakey by knockout inside the distance.
There you go. Yeah, so you're obviously picking your mate Blake, of course. And but how good is Blake? Like, his record's 5-1, right? So obviously, assuming that your prophecy comes to fruition there, and he's successful against Sean Bruin, that brings him to 6-1. It's not that far. We've seen guys get signed to the Contender Series with, and to the UFC, even with with less fights and less wins than that. So how good is he, and sort of how far off a call up to the big leagues do you think he might be?
Well, I feel like this is the test. This is the level test fight for him to kind of give him the opportunity to cement himself and show that he is probably one of the best lightweights in the country, or if not the best. So, yeah, the result of this fight carries a bit more weight to it because, like I said, if he wins this fight, he should be fighting for the Eternal title. But, man, like you said, a fight like this, of this magnitude in the main event on such a big weekend, it's going to put eyeballs on it. And if you go out there and, you know, put someone away and have them 10 toes to the ceiling, like you could very well be getting a contender series call up or something like that could be on the cards. Like you said, we've seen people with less experience get call ups. We've seen people with worse records get call ups. So I feel like, you know, Blake's right where he needs to be. He's at the top, kind of lurking, forgotten about a little bit. And this is an opportunity for him to sort of remind everyone what he's capable of and who he is.
Absolutely, and so there it is. UFC Eternal 69 and 70. You know, previewed, predicted. Let us know what you think at Fight Talk Down Under on Instagram or Fight Talk Down Under Facebook group as well. Yeah, let us know what you think of the predictions and you know and the breakdown. But yeah, before we wrap up, we better do a fan question. We've been off for a couple of weeks, so yeah, we've got some good ones. But I thought one that is kind of relevant, given that you know, obviously you yourself are going to be sitting on the sidelines. You've got some, you know, teammates and friends and things like that on the card. So the question comes from Harley Saron. So thank you, Harley, for your support and for listening and sending through the question. But Harley asks, is it hard for you guys to watch a fighter that you've interviewed or dealt with? What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's always harder for me to watch people fight than it is when I fight. I feel like, and especially if I've, you know, if you're dealing with someone, whether you interviewed them or I guess dealt with them and had a couple of, you know, shared the mats with them or had some sort of connection to a fighter, when you see them compete, it definitely makes it a bit more difficult or a bit, yeah, it's like it puts you in a different sort of mindset as opposed to if you had no connection to them. And for sure, when I'm like at a fight show or watching something and it's someone I know or have some sort of connection with fighting, I'm like, yeah, I'm on edge and I'm like, you know, with the butterflies, the nerves are going, like things are going crazy. Like, and then, you know, when they do fight and things go their way, it's like you just get sort of this massive overflow of happiness and emotion because you kind of are invested in that way. But then at the same time, it's not like you, when they lose, it's not the same as like when I fight and I lose. But it's pretty fucking close. Like the feeling that you get, you're like, what the fuck? You just, yeah, and that's normal because you're investing part of yourself into something and into this person's, I guess, journey and career. So yeah, it's definitely difficult to watch someone that you have some sort of connection to fight for sure. It's a lot harder for me to do that than it is for me to go out there and compete.
Absolutely, and yeah, for me as well. Like, you know, when I've interviewed someone, I'm definitely more invested because I've met them, I've sort of made that connection and sort of heard their story. So, you know, it's sort of you kind of you feel like you know them a little bit and you're kind of more invested in their fight. But for me, it's mostly when I watch you, Lockjaw. You know, since I have to, you know, listen to your BS every week. It's just that little bit more satisfying watching someone punch you in the face. But you know, but no, but really, like honestly, like, you know, like you're my guy, right? So I'm pretty stressed when I watch you fight. Like it's you know, it's a whole nother level of investment. And it's kind of something that's a little bit different for me. Like I said, I've obviously interviewed a lot of people and watched their fights and kind of been a bit more invested. But actually having a friend in the game now and sort of watching you fight and everything, it's it's kind of tough. Like, and you know, like you sort of touched on there, it's kind of it's almost harder than sort of doing it yourself. Like, you know, kind of just. You're kind of just helpless, you know. Like I can send you all the Tito Ortiz quotes that you like before before your fights and things like that. But you know, yeah, actually watching you in the ring is it's kind of tough. But then, you know, I guess, you know, the highs are higher and the lows are lower, you know. So we obviously have been on a winning run lately. So, you know, watching you win fights is it's been pretty cool and it's pretty satisfying to watch.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of the weirdest things because, like, across sport, obviously, if you watch any sport and you support like someone or something in any sport, like a team or a person or whatever it may be, you're going to be that extra bit invested. So it's going to suck a little bit more when things don't pan out. But I think when it comes to MMA, boxing, kickboxing, you know, combat sports, that shit's so much more amplified because you're literally watching that person throw their limbs and have other limbs thrown towards them with bad intentions where people can get hurt. And like, you know, we've seen people die in the ring. So like, I feel like it's a lot more amplified than if you're watching like a footy game or some shit. Don't get me wrong, like cunts get fucked up in footy games, and obviously people that race cars, and there's all these different other sports that have these dangers. But I think there's something a bit more amplified and a bit more pure about watching someone that you know step into some sort of arena and get into like a fight with another person. It just, it kind of, I don't know, it gets to me a bit more than if I was sort of, I don't know, watching fucking tennis or some shit.
Yeah, I mean it's a fair point. Like, you know, in a ball sport, let's say, or a team sport or whatever, what's the worst case scenario? They lose the game. You know, maybe they get an injury, ping a hammy or something like that. But in a fight, like like you say, there's some pretty dire consequences if things don't go your way, or there can be anyway. So it's a whole nother level of stress and danger, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%, and that's why that's what makes it even weirder for me. Like when I am actually, especially if I'm fighting on the same card as people that I know, or some teammates, or people that I have a connection with, it doesn't make sense in my brain that I'm able to go from being like a nervous wreck watching someone I know fight, being like completely like just going through all the human emotions possible and fluctuating and being nervous and freaking out, having sweaty palms, all this sort of shit, and then you fast forward to when I have to compete and it's like the complete opposite. That always just trips me out. Like how can me watching someone else do the thing that I'm about to do hit me harder than when I actually have to go out and do it? It's so weird.
It's because you're in control. You can go out there and you can sort of control your own destiny to a degree. Obviously, someone can, there's obviously variables that come from your opponent, but you can go out there and, and you're sort of in control of your own sort of movements and what you do in the cage. So I think that's kind of, there's something a little bit kind of, I don't know, you don't feel as helpless, you can go out there and sort of fight yourself. Whereas when someone else is doing it, all you can do is sit back and watch and just hope for the best. Yeah,
that's it. You sort of, you're just along for the ride.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we'd appreciate it if all of our listeners and viewers would be along for the ride for episode 29. We're of course going to be recapping Eternals 69 and 70, the events that we've just covered tonight. So until then, you can of course catch my interview with Aiden Aguilera and Dave Martinez on Fight News Australia YouTube. So if you feel like sort of sitting down and squirming in your seat, sort of watching something really uncomfortable, then that's there for you. So appreciate all the support there. And of course, let us know if you have any questions. Details are below if you're watching on YouTube, at Dan Meehan MMA on Twitter, at Lockjaw MMA on Instagram. As we mentioned earlier, follow the Instagram page at Fight Talk Down Under. And of course, for all our content, like and subscribe, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Fight News Australia, and iHeartRadio. Lockjaw, what do you want to take us off with?
Obviously, fucking get in, watch Eternal, watch the cards. Both cards are going to be crackers. Fights on both cards. Watch the fights that we've broken down all the fights, so we've given you the inside info in a way. But I will leave us off on a positive note with something cool. If people want to have some, get the opportunity to learn a bit more about the sport, that are fans of the sport, or you want to watch some high quality breakdowns, or I guess a fight analysis, go to Instagram, follow Colby Thickness and Jarrett Wilbraham. They're out here doing breakdowns on the daily almost. And obviously it's in depth, it's in detail. And if you're a fan of the sport, it's going to give you a better understanding of what's going on. And you're going to be able to sort of appreciate what's happening when you are watching these fights from a local level to the world-class level with a bit more sort of understanding and appreciation. And it's probably going to benefit you even just as someone who watches the sport. So definitely go out, check those two dudes out. And real quick, shout out to Mitch, my teammate Mitch Harmson. He gave me one of these sick hoodies to wear. It's one of his own fight merchandise. He's a shit bloke, but he's a pretty good fighter. So shout out to him too. But that's what I'll leave us off with.
I gotta watch it. You never know what might stop you. Here I am, climbing up, feeling great, getting love. Here I go, risk it all, be worth